Bonjour, welcome. Just before we get started, I'm on Journey 2, so this is a New Game Plus. Just thought I'd bring that up real quick. Anyways, last time, this is part 3 of our Faith run. Last time we talked to Moore and Talier, getting some more out of them, before making our way to Bellerot, meeting the Hornsent Grandam, and taking out our first cutscene boss of the run. And for items, we got ourselves Talier's Concoction, the Crusade Insignia, Ash of War Shriek of Sorrow, the Immunizing Horn Charm +2, a Horned Warrior's Sword, the Bone Bow, the Dried Bouquet, Remembrance of the Dancing Lion, the Divine Beast Head, and the Watchful Spirit incantation. And here, I'm gonna head off to Castle Front, and we are going to make our way through Castle Ensis. And you may have noticed I'm wielding a different weapon. I have the Horned Warrior Sword and the Black Steel Great Hammer fully upgraded. Ignore the fact that I don't have the strength to wield the Black Steel Great Hammer. That has nothing to do with anything, and you shouldn't worry about that. But last time, we got the Watchful Spirit incantation, so I thought we could show that off. It kind of hangs above your head and then shoots at these little projectiles. And as you can see, not enough to kill a single enemy. A single basic Mesmer soldier. Not even enough for him. So that's kind of yikes. And Flame of the Fell God, I was kind of hoping to use as like a sniper shot. It wasn't working, so we moved over to Frenzied Burst. And we put on an Erdtree heal. But this thing is a massive Castle Ensis. And here, we've got a troll, giant, whatever you want to call it. Either way, that did less damage than I thought it would. But it's okay. Because he's going down. An easy kill. And that gets us a Somberstone 9 and 3 Royal Magic Grease. Which are like Magic Grease, but stronger. Oof. 2 basic R1s. And that was a stance break. Incredible. You'll love to see it. Maybe this is because I don't... Maybe this is because I don't really use Great Hammers. But I wasn't expecting... I really wasn't expecting 2 basic light attacks to stance break. That is wild. I was expecting it to take like 3 or 4. Anyways, we've got the Elizabeth. I'm calling it Elizabeth because its actual name is... It feels weird to say. Not too much of a fan on that one. It's a very cool weapon. The name, it just bothers me a bit. But here we get the Loyal Knights Cookbook, which allows you to craft royal magic grease. So if you want the big magic grease, then you can craft it. I didn't realize he was shielding. It looked like he was just standing there normally. Also, nothing to boost skills or holy damage. I don't even know if that does holy damage. I just kind of assumed so. But here, I abandon here the flesh of my body, along with a Scadu tree fragment. Now, that one... the character over here, Sir Ansbach, he asked you to let him know if you find any of Mikola's crosses, but there are a handful that they already know about. Like, obviously, they know about this one because there are NPCs there already. They know about this one. They know about this one. And they know about this one. So, because they know about those ones, you can't talk to Ansbach about them. Here. Castle Cross Message. Kind Mikola seeks the tower sealed by shadow, and the gate of divinity found there. If we are to reach him, we must burn the tree that seals the path, and for that, we require a flame. So that kind of gives you a long-term goal. Like, short-term goal is just get through the castle, long-term goal is burn this area. Here. Door. Does this one shot? No. But it was close. I should have known. Alright. That takes a lot of stamina. I don't think it should take that much stamina, but 17 FP. That's pretty good. That is pretty good. Also, a bird always dies there, and I don't know why. But here you get a Starlight Shard, which is useful if you use a lot of FP. Because they passively regenerate FP for a little bit. Very useful, very useful. If you've got a chunk of FP missing, and you don't want to have a chunk of FP missing, easy solution. Also, we can take off Erdtree's Favor and replace it with Shard of Alexander. And you'll love to see it. And here we're on the other side of this gate. And you can push this lever. And pushing that lever opens the gate. And then this here's the site of grace. It doesn't save you a lot. Like, in my opinion, good shortcuts do two things. One, they save you a lot of time going through an area. And two, they save you from a lot of combat that would otherwise drain your resources. This does a decent enough job on saving time, at least for an early level. I mean, you need to beat Moog to get to the DLC, but in comparison to the DLC, it's pretty early on. And so for a pretty early on area, it does a decent enough job of saving you time. But not really enemies. Yeah. Alright, so... if the soldiers aren't aggroed onto us, it's a one-shot. If they are aggroed onto us, it's a two-shot. Also, there's a dog over there. Hehe. So you can lock onto them, it just takes a lot to lock onto them. Good to know. We got him. You'll love to see it. Now there you have Moonrithil, Carrion Knight. And they have a colossal sword, which is scary. And here we get a wolf crest shield. Very similar to the serpent crest shield. Like, very similar. Comparing the two. Same skill and no skill. Same weight. Serpent is better in terms of magic by a decent bit. I think that's 24 better for magic. 3 better for lightning, 2 better for holy. No, Wolf Crest is better than Serpent in those aspects. But then Serpent is better than a Wolf in terms of fire. Like 25 better on fire, roughly, and 1 better for guard boost. So if you're going for fire, Serpent. If you're going for magic, Wolf. If you don't care, probably still Serpent because it has 1 better guard boost. But anyways. I was just about to say, we're just gonna walk past Moonrithil. Because they're kind of scary and I don't want to fight them. So remember that hole, they're scary? That was half my health bar. No. Nope. I was just going to say that I was going to walk by and let you live. Huh. Just a quick little smack across the face. And they're dead. And that gets you Moonrithill's Night Sword. But if you're careful enough, you can go around here and then just sneak past them. You might want to have on like Crepus's Vial or Sneak, whichever one fits you better. Oh, Marika, I beg, embrace your child and give us a sign. How long must this holy war stretch on? Yeah, so remember, started by Mesmer, son of America. And he's saying, America, embrace her child. So he's saying, embrace Mesmer. And end the holy war. But that's not exactly how holy wars tend to work. Oh, hi. Alright, so it turns out this thing is good. Whoop. Have I been sleeping on great hammers this whole time? Because I don't use them. Now here, you're supposed to open this gate, see the broken, like, thing off to the side, and look over. But you can't just jump over. That is a very easy thing to do. And there's no reason not to do it. Please. So horn calling is pretty good. Like, it does take a lot of stamina. But besides that, it's good. It's pretty strong. Glintblade Trio. This is... I tried this a little bit on the sorcery run. Or on the int run. It was serviceable. Like, not great, but not terrible. It worked well enough. But anyways, you can still get over this. Like, you can jump onto this, then you can jump onto this, then you can jump over here. And it's a one-way thing. There's no reason to do that. Absolutely no reason to do that. But I enjoy it. Now, keep in mind, Horned Warrior Sword scales off Dex and then off Strength and Faith. And while I do have 80 Faith, my Dex, which is what this scales the best off of, is only at 25. And my Strength is only at 23. And so, this can get significantly better damage. I'm also running with 5 Scadu Blessings. And as I pointed out in the beginning of this part, we're on New Game Plus. Meaning everything has increased health and defense. No idea how he didn't see us there, but we'll take it. I don't know if you saw that, okay? So, a bit short on the range. That delay always gets me. But, do you see that little piece in the middle? That's the rock. I can hear it starting to break. And whenever it breaks, you'll be able to see it. And there it goes. So, in case you don't know, Cragblade, bury the armament into the ground, pulling rocks from the earth to reinforce it. So it covers your weapon in rocks. But because of the weird shape of the Black Steel Great Hammer, I actually have a mouse. The rocks only showed up here instead of on the entire weapon like it's supposed to. Now here we can jump out here. We can drop down here. We can drop down here. We can make our way up here. Tiny bit of a wild goose chase. But this is worth it. I promise you. Because this is something that is pretty popular in PvP. And it is the Ash of War wing stance. Calmly assume a right-handed stance. Normal attack triggers a rapid 3/combination. Strong attack triggers a leaping thrust. Usable on light greatswords. So light greatswords are a weapon class that's new to the DLC. And there are only 3 in the game. There's this one, there's Letta's sword, and there's Rellana's twin swords. And out of those 3, this one is the only one that is infusible. Meaning Ash of War wing stance is an Ash of War for a single weapon. Which is kind of weird considering Great Katana with overhead stance does the same thing. Where overhead stance is purely for Great Katanas. And there are 3 Great Katanas. There's Great Katana, Dragon Hunter's Great Katana, and Rakshasa's Great Katana. And the only infusible one is the basic Great Katana. Meaning, overhead stance is an Ash of War purely for a single weapon. And so, something nickel weird that happened twice. Moving on, you can take a few drops to get over to here. And then you can drop down. And then you can drop down again. And then this brings you back to the same elevator. And so that is a nice little self-contained loop for if you want to do that. Now here, you can summon the Needle Knight Letta, who has the second of 3 light greatswords. And I said last time that I'm not big on summoning, but I'm going to summon here. Last time I didn't summon, but I used Mimic Tear. This time I'm not going to use Mimic Tear, but I'm going to summon. So we're just gonna swap what we do. And here, Rellana, Twin Moon Knight. Who I feel like is more important than the previous boss. But for some reason, she doesn't get a cutscene. And there's no dialogue. I mean, truly nothing. Like, granted, she does get a legacy dungeon, but that's it. And I feel like for a member of the Karya royal family, and as we'll learn later, Mesmer's like right-hand woman, I feel like she should have gotten a cutscene or dialogue or something. Ooh. Cool looking combo. However, not good for my health. Look at that, I don't know who that's going after. And if I don't know who it's after, I'm going to assume it's after me. Because it is better to be safe than dead. I say as I run in instead of healing. Even though I have plenty of heals left. I pressed the jump button, but my character did not jump. Don't kill. Ooh. Whew. I wasn't worried for myself, but I was worried for Letta, because I wanted Letta to survive that. And she did. She was like 1, maybe 2 hits away from death. I was kind of worried. But remembrance of the Twin Moon Knight. Once a Carian princess, Rellana disavowed her birthright and chose to stand at Mesmer's side instead, knowing full well that not even the brilliance of the moon could grant him succor. Before long, she became known as the Sword of Mesmer. Yeah, so Carian princess, Sword of Mesmer, rocking a new moon sorcery. And yet, no cutscene and no dialogue. Scadu Altus, though. And she's also an optional boss. She's also an optional boss. I feel like someone on the dev team just did not like Rellana. Just based on that. Like the no cutscene, no dialogue, optional boss. That feels personal. Here I abandon here my heart. And here we have the person that we summoned, Needle Knight Letta.
Hello again. Did you meet my compatriots? They're quite the congregation, from places as far and wide as you can imagine. Doubtless they'd have all come to blows at first glance, were it not for the charm kindly Mikula put upon us. This is what allows us to serve together, the work of a living god. Wondering about the horn scent, are you? True enough. In any other circumstance, he'd be at our throats. Long ago, Queen Marika commanded Sir Messmer to purge the Tower folk, a cleansing by fire. It's no wonder the horn scent holds the Erdtree in contempt. That aside, man is by nature a creature of conquest, and in this regard, the Tower folk are no different. They were never saints. They just happened to be on the losing side of a war, but it's still a wretched shame.
That is some of my favorite dialogue. Because I'm someone who very much sees humans as animals. And I feel like a lot of people forget that. That despite all of our technology, that despite all of our advancement, we really are just animals. And that's why we still have war. That's why we still have a lot of the crimes that we do. But here, seek me to the east if you wish to pursue the way of the warrior. When you find me, you will challenge me to a bout. There will be no need for words. And on gestures, we get may the best win. And here we have the horn scent again.
You have a knack for timing, my fellow. I found the site of a new cross. Take this. Mikula has said as much himself. He wishes now to throw it all away. He says the act, though undoubtedly painful, will sear clean the Erdtree's wanton sin. The truth of his claim can be found at each cross. It is evidence enough to earn my belief. Go to the misshapen tree of Umbra. In that forsaken place, blood must spill. The blood of your fellows, the Erdtree faithful.
The misshapen tree of Umbra. That's that. The Scadu tree. And going there, you will make it into the Shadow Keep. And if you get close enough to that, it'll do something. I don't want to say what just yet, but it'll do something, and it'll mess with the characters, and it'll, like, move along their stories. For now, up here, just gonna avoid these enemies. Inside of this, we get the Church of the Crusade, which has...
Thou shalt not evade the flame of Messmer.
this is the guy who invaded us in Bellerot. And yeah, big weapons, very strong. I've never really used, or I haven't used great hammers much.
How could this be? Forsake me not, Queen Marika, my grace.
But I use great swords a lot. And I know how useful they are. But here we get Ash of War Flame Skewer, which is the thing that he was using to put fire on his weapon. And then we get the Prayer Room Key. So he invades you in 2 different locations, here and in Bellerot. And here he gives us the Flame, Ash of War Flame Skewer and Prayer Room Key. But that's not tied to this location. That's tied to the second invasion. If you go here first, he'll drop you the Crusade Insignia here. And then going to Bellerot second will get you these 2 at Bellerot. So you need to have him invade you in both locations to get the prayer room key, which we will use for a thing later on. For now, 2 Scadu tree fragments instead of the normal 1. Remember, Scadu tree fragments are used to increase our damage and our defense. And so they are very useful. And we're gonna drop down here. And if you go over kind of like to the top of this sea looking thing, near the top of it, you'll find a grace and a bit of environmental storytelling. Here, there's what looks to be a ladder, but it's broken, leading downwards. And then as you continue to make your way downwards, you land here. There's Fog Rift Fort. There's a Stake of America here in case you die, and a summoning pool in case you want to summon. Let's see how good Frenzied Burst does. Horn Calling is still better. I want to see if we can thread the needle here. We did it! We managed to thread the needle. Now, over there, you can actually use a range to just... Yeah. But all that's over there is a cookbook. And not a good one in my opinion. So, you can just ignore that, in my opinion. Over here, though, it's not an enemy. It's a boss. And Yeah, that looks like an incantation, but I don't think you can actually get it. I wish that you could get it. It looks cool. I wouldn't use it. Like, I would never use that, but it'd be cool to have as an option. I do like having options. And with that, 160k, and the Black Steel Great Shield, which is one of the best shields in the game. Like, its lowest defensive stat is lightning at 55% damage negation. Just think about this. 100% physical damage negation, 84% holy damage negation, and then 69 guard boost. Think about that against, say, Malakath, or Radagon, or Elden Beast. It is a very good late game shield. And I would highly suggest using it if you got the strength for it, because it's a good one. I mean, I'd probably call that top 5 shield in the game, along with, like, Golden Shield and Icon Shield. Here, Arrow's Soaring Sting Talisman, which increases the range and damage of arrows and bolts. And then here you can drop back down to where the boss was. And then you can drop even further down over to here. Drop. For the Icon Shield, I wouldn't even say that it's good because of its stats, because it's kind of not. Defensively, it's a pretty mid shield. But the health regen, that reverse poison, the reverse poison is very strong. I didn't even see this guy. We'll take it, we'll take it. But here, you get Serpent Flail. Which is a flail, physical and fire damage. And the skill ignites a flame inside the snakes, temporarily empowering flame attacks. So once ignited, strong attacks and other moves that strike the ground will cause an explosion. So if you played Bloodborne, it's kind of like the Boom Hammer, where you can press a button and it'll ignite the weapon, and then you get one attack that just does extra fire damage. And then that's it. But I've never used it, but it's a flail. So I don't expect too much. But from here, the High Road Cross Grace, first one in Scadu Altus, we can head straight forward. How? Not entirely sure on how that hit me, but okay. But anyways. That's why I always get off Torrent before fighting an enemy. Because anything larger than a curved sword can just stun like a horse. And remember, 2 light attacks stance broke enemies, and Cragblade, final 2 lines, it says increases attack power and makes it easier to break enemy stance. That's precisely why I have Cragblade on. Because big weapon plus Cragblade equals stance break. Very good against bosses. But there you can get the map for Scadu Altus. Here you can get a Scadu tree fragment. And then you can leave. And we're gonna go southeast here. Because there's something related to what we've seen before over here. You might be able to see it off in the distance. It's one of Michaela's crosses. We're gonna ignore them. If you just pretend like they don't exist, they'll leave you alone. Or not. Hey. Listen to me and remember. Look at me with the blood on my face, okay? I tried to give them an out. Okay. I tried to give him an out. I went right past him, ignored him, I was being peaceful. And that's how I got treated as a result. So if I ever go into an encounter swinging, and I don't even give them a chance to talk, remember this guy, because he's why. But anyways, I abandon here the flesh of my body. And here, another 2 upgrades. But then here we can use May the Best Win. Because this guy didn't talk. And doing that, it brings you into a boss fight against Dryleaf Dane. Pretty glad he did that, because I had poor stamina management there. Oh. And with his death, we can head back to the material world, outside of the ethereal realm we were in before. And he has vanished. However, we get Dryleaf Arts, which is his weapon. And it even has Palm Blast, the skill that he was using. So you can read that there if you want. Along with his hat. You do get the rest of his set, but that's later on. For now, you get a message. Grow not complacent. Continue to temper your strength. And so he's saying, hey, don't get cocky, don't get lazy. Yeah, this took 25, okay. So we can move up to 25 strength, and then from there we'll... I mean, this goes more into strength, but this goes more into dex. And so the question becomes, do we want to focus on the big weapon damage or the small weapon damage? That's a problem for future me to figure out. For now, remember we talked to... and now we have this whole chunk of the map. But we talked to Sir Ansbach, and he said that more runs with the Forager Brood. And there's one member of the Forager Brood over here. They don't give a good item, and so I don't care about them. But I do remember the resistance here. And so here they are. Like I said, the pale centipede enemies. With all the different hands. And you can talk to them. They're here on the map. We can talk to them. That allows you to craft spell-proof pickled livers. And then here, you got the Ruined Forge of Starfall Past. And we can sit down. I don't think we got it last time. Or earlier in this run. But this is actually the second Ruined Forge. The first one is right here on the map. You get it by going on Castle Front, and you take the downward path. And then there's another downward path, or kind of a forward path. You take that, you get here. There's 3 different Ruined Forges. And that first one, we actually skipped for a good reason. It's the worst of the 3. All it has is a throwing weapon, which is basically a dagger, but you throw it instead of swinging it like a normal weapon. Which is interesting. It's unique. Not super strong. Here you get the Smith's Grip Spear. You'll love to see it. But this one has some more stuff. So, we'll go through this one. Now, I like to keep things under an hour, and we're at 55.5 minutes. And I also do a what progress did we make this time, and what items did we get? And you might think, well, how are you gonna go through this tunnel-like area? Do that, and your normal end-of-the-part spiel while keeping it under an hour. And really, we just gotta have faith. We just gotta have faith in the faith run. Because if my character has it, I feel like I should have it too. Because if I can't get into the mind of my character, if I can't embody their values and beliefs, then how can I effectively take them through the lands between the Shadowlands and do what needs to be done? Killing gods and whatnot. Me and my character, we have to be one. We have to be in tune. And so for that, if my character has faith, I've got to have faith. And with that, we got the ancient meteoric ore greatsword and an ancient dragon smithing stone. And we can quickly run over here to see if Ansbach has any new dialogue for us. Because he's a cool guy and he has a nice voice.
Righteous tarnished. What brings you here?
Love hearing him talk.
Welcome. Goodbye.
But with that being said, I think we can end it here. We made our way through Castle Ensis and through a little portion of Scadu Altus, along with the ruined forge of Starfall Past. For items, we've gotten ourselves the Loyal Knight's Cookbook, the Wolfcrest Shield, the Moonerthel Knight Sword, Rellana's Cameo, the Sorcery Glintblade Trio. We got the Elizabeth, the Ash of War Wing Stance, Remembrance of the Twin Moon Knight, the Ash of War Flame Skewer, a key that we'll use later on, the Black Steel Great Shield, Arrow's Soaring Sting Talisman, the Serpent Flail, Dryleaf Arts, Dane's Hat, the Cookbook for the Spell-Proof Pickled Liver, the Smith's Grip Spear, cool weapon, I suggest you try it, the Smithing Talisman, which enhances weapon throwing attacks, which the Smith's Grip Spear has, also the Smith's Grip SotE also has, which is another weapon we got, along with the Ancient Meteoric Ore Greatsword, and an Ancient Dragon Smithing Stone. And with that being said, yeah,